Hi, and welcome to Cinema Figures. I'm your host, Caitlin, and today we are continuing on with Sharkathon. So today is a much more serious episode of Sharkathon because of the actual film and the historical relevance of the story that we're going to be covering here today. So today's film is actually Mission of the Shark, the saga of the USS Indianapolis, right here, and it came out in 1991. Alright, so before we get on into the film, yes, the USS Indianapolis was a real thing. It is held as one of the worst naval incidents throughout U.S. history, as well as the worst reported shark attack throughout history, period, basically. A number of men died. It is believed that 880 actually entered the water, and only 316 actually made it out. So, actual numbers and actually keeping track of that, it's a little screwy, but that is what is widely accepted, and that's what we're going to go with on this. So, the USS Indianapolis, they were a naval ship that was tasked with a covert mission of transporting the atom bomb throughout. So, of course, they did manage to drop off the atom bomb, Hiroshima won the war. Awesome, awesome. However, it's actually with their return voyage home when they are shot down by a Japanese submarine with 2 torpedoes. So it's believed that the ship actually went down in a matter of about 12 minutes, and the ship's captain wasn't able to give the abandoned ship, so it's believed about 300 men actually went down with the ship, and those that did make it out to the water did not fare any better. So some men had life vests, some men were holding onto rafts, others were seriously burned, others were seriously injured, several were already dead in the water as soon as they hit the water. And that's when it gets so much worse. So you're already dealing with a boat sinking, you're already dealing with a number of casualties and a number of injuries. Now you're dealing with the fact that you are now stuck in shark-infested water and no one knows where you are. You were part of a covert mission, and you're kind of on your own. So this is when the shark attacks start. So I have so much respect for this film because they covered the shark attacks with such respect, where a lot of other films in this countdown, it's very gratuitous, it's very in-your-face, gory, violent, shark, 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 shark. In this, yes, there were shark attacks. They're more implied and a little more glossed over. And I feel like a lot of that was a way to try to respect those who actually lost their lives, as well as their families, as well as the survivors. There are less than 24 of them still alive today, so, shout out to a war hero, honestly. But yeah, so we're dealing with sharks, we're dealing with dehydration, with drowning, with injuries, burns, all sorts of craziness is going to happen. You're stuck out there in the elements. Men are dealing with exhaustion. Some are drinking salt water and getting delirious. Some are giving up the will to live. Others are turning to mutiny. Yeah, there are naval officers killing other naval officers in this. Yes, there our Marines being killed by naval members in this. It's just so much carnage going on throughout, and so much destruction. And they definitely showed that well with this. But throughout, showing the different groupings and everything that is perceived to be going on throughout, I have to tell you, this is probably the most emotional film on the entire countdown of Sharkathon, because it is based off a real horrifying event that actually took place, and the death toll in this was so incredibly horrifying. Honestly, I do have to tell you, yes, this movie came out in 1991. It is a bit dated, however, very well done. The cast is solid throughout. The writing's pretty well done throughout. I have a lot of respect for this film for what it is. However, we also deal with the true messed up story that is the trial against Captain. So, of course, very sensationalized story. There was actually a point in time where they brought the Japanese naval member who shot down the USS Indianapolis into his court-martial proceedings to testify. Seriously? Alright, so of course there was a number of things that came out after the fact that could have proved that the Navy was just covering a lot of things up. A lot of things just seriously mishandled. This is an upsetting film because it's real, because this actually happened to a lot of men. A lot of men really suffered. And I actually am thankful that the shark attacks in this film showed were few and far between. They didn't show the sharks to the same extent that they actually were present there. I did a little bit of research after watching this film because I wanted to see how historically accurate it truly was. Of course, my first real introduction to the story of the USS Indianapolis, alongside with a lot of other people, was the tale that was told in Jaws by Quint.
What's that one?
What?
That one there, on your arm.
Oh, well, it's a tattoo. I got that removed.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Mother. What is it?
Tahupa, that's the USS Indianapolis.
You were on the Indianapolis?
What happened?
Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. He was coming back from the island of Tinian to Leyte, just delivered the bomb, the Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went into the water. The vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger, 13-footer. You know that when you're in the water, Chief? You tell by looking from the dorsal to the tail. What we didn't know was our bomb mission had been so secret, no distress signal had been sent. They didn't even list us overdue for a week. Very first light, Chief. Sharks come cruising. So we formed ourselves into tight groups. It's kind of like old squares in a battle, like you see in a calendar, like the Battle of Waterloo, and the idea was, shark comes to the nearest man, that man he starts pounding and hollering and screaming. Sometimes the shark would go away. Sometimes he wouldn't go away. Sometimes that shark, he looks right into you, right into your eyes. You know the thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes. black eyes, like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, he doesn't seem to be living until he bites you. And those black eyes roll over white, and then... Oh, then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The ocean turns red, and in spite of all the pounding and the hollering, they all come in and they rip you to pieces. You know, by the end of that first dawn, lost 100 men. I don't know how many sharks, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many men, they average 6 an hour. On Thursday morning, Chief, I bumped into a friend of mine, Herbie Robinson from Cleveland. Baseball player, bosun's mate. I thought he was asleep. Reached over to wake him up. Bobbed up and down in the water. It was like a kind of top. Upended. Well, he'd been bitten in half below the waist. Noon the 5th day, Mr. Hooper, Lockheed Ventura saw us. He swung in low and he saw us too. A young pilot, a lot younger than Mr. Hooper anyway. He saw us and he come in low, and 3 hours later, a big fat PBY comes down and started to pick us up. You know, that was the time I was most frightened, waiting for my turn. I'll never put on a life jacket again. So 1,100 men went in the war. 316 men come out. The Sharks took the rest June the 29th, 1945. Anyway, we delivered the bomb.
And yeah, this is actually pretty accurate. The only thing being the fact that sharks just kind of never left these guys alone. And that's pretty horrifying in its own right. So yeah, please do give me a like if you like this video. Comment below if you have seen this film. If you haven't and you're looking for a more serious film that involves sharks but also involves quite a bit of military issues and drama and the like, they're more horrifying as a result of survival, you know. Definitely I would suggest checking this out. The cast is solid throughout. The acting is great throughout. And yes, it is a little dated and some of the music kind of bothers me at moments, but still a very enjoyable film, still a really great film. So please do subscribe to Cinema Figures for more sharky goodness, or you know, movie goodness, because this is a movie review channel. And yeah, please do check out any of the older videos I have up for offer here on Cinema Figures. I'm sorry if I seem a little down in this, but this movie really got to me. And I felt really bad, especially when I did a bit more research, and it's like, oh, so just a little taste of the actual toll here. The exact statistics, numbers and everything for the USS Indianapolis. There were 1,196 aboard the ship. 880 of them died at sea. 316 of them survived this incident. Now, 300 of them were believed to have gone down with the ship. It's hard to keep track of exactly how many ended up in the water versus actually being submerged in the ship. Very hard to keep those numbers correct. The number does vary from source to source, but this is what is widely accepted. Now, it was exactly 3.5 days before the Navy actually noticed the disappearance of the USS Indianapolis and the fact that they didn't meet their last point of destination. A big part of that being the fact that this was a covert mission and they didn't record a lot of what was going on as far as their arrivals and their departures. because this was completely off books. Now, the cruiser actually went down in about 12 minutes, and these men were stuck in the water for 5 days. Now, I would highly suggest that you go out and do your own research if you are at all interested in the true story behind the USS Indianapolis. I will tell you, just from watching the overall speeches from a number of survivors, I will tell you this film, to my opinion, is pretty accurate as far as the actual story there. But the fact that they actually hushed up a lot of it for years is pretty disappointing. But you know, it is what it is. You have to keep people safe. You got to keep things going, and it's pretty devastating. And, you know, just a little comment on the fact that there is now currently a USS Indianapolis that is about ready to hit water again. I'm just going to say maybe bad juju, maybe bad karma, maybe not name it that. I think it's bad luck. That's just me. I am not any of the above as far as the Navy goes. So yeah, please do all of the above. Like I mentioned before, like, subscribe, comment, check out the older videos. And I'm sorry if this was kind of a bummer of an episode. I did love this movie, and I would highly suggest checking it out. So yeah, that's it. I'm your host, Caitlin. Bye.